Hello and welcome to the Yoga Lawyer Show. Today we're going to talk about the new Supreme Court Justice pick, Brett Kavanaugh. Trump announced just yesterday. In our world, you might be watching this at a different time, but he just announced in our world yesterday.
On June 9th.
Yes, on June 9th.
2018.
that
Future
Brett Kavanaugh is we're from the past coming to visit. So I thought we'd talk a little bit about that. Just, a quick video. We talked last week about Justice Kennedy's retirement, which was kind of a shock. And now Trump has nominated Brett Kavanaugh to replace him. Mm-hmm. And there's some interesting things we know about him. I know, Katie, you were telling me before we went on camera that he clerked for Kennedy.
Yes.
And how does that work? You were telling me a little bit about the tradition.
Okay, so a justice will generally, if they're thinking about retirement, they're going to wait until they have a president who's kind of leaning the same way as them. Because then they think, okay, this president's kind of like me, thinks like me. They'll appoint somebody who also thinks like me. And because they're retiring under this president, as it's like a kudos, the president will kind of ask for their opinion on who they think would be a good replacement for themselves. So I think that because...
we don't know, but just to speculate, it seems like it's kind of coincidental that Kavanaugh happened to clerk for Kennedy. Kennedy's retiring.
I'm not saying
conservative president.
That Kennedy is like puppeteering Trump's pick, but I think that Kennedy might have had some say or maybe made a suggestion, said like, hey, this is a good guy in this pick. That might be
it definitely, it seems like it could be. I mean, it's very coincidental that he clerked for Kennedy. So he was a D.C. appeals court judge.
Which is important because 4 of the current justices, well, no, because one of them died, but multiple justices have come from the D.C. circuit. It's considered the second highest court in the land. So
yeah,
just under the Supreme Court.
And I think he was appointed by Bush,
right,
George W., to that appeals court. And he was involved in the Bush v. Gore election recount issue.
Which was a huge controversial Supreme Court case that we can go into in another
video.
Want. But yeah, it came down to Florida, which is our home.
Yeah, go Florida. He was involved in that. He was involved in some things with the Clintons. Like, interestingly, he was involved in the exoneration, for lack of a better way to say it. He investigated Vince Foster's death, which was ruled a suicide, and Bill Clinton was kind of under the microscope related to that. And so that that's something that puts him, kind of look at, is he left-leaning, right-leaning? I mean, he's definitely considered a right-leaning judge, but he hasn't, throughout his history completely acted all to one side or the other. But he was also involved in the Kenneth Starr investigation of Bill Clinton, the impeachment of Bill Clinton. So
we're not really sure where he stands. We know that he is, and comparatively, if we compare him to the center of the court, which is now the
Roberts would be kind of considered the Chief Justice Roberts, I guess, is the center now.
Yeah, he would be more right-leaning, so there's a solid conservative bloc on the court if he does get appointed. But we don't know how he will decide. Maybe he will defer to stare decisis. We don't know.
He probably will. I mean, I think he's considered judicially conservative as well as politically conservative, and by that I just mean he understands judicial restraint. He's a well-respected judge. I doubt he's in there to try to get things overturned. I don't know, and he hasn't spoken out, and I don't know that we know what his views are on big issues like Roe versus Wade.
I know that they're going to vet him.
Yeah, and I think they're going to be asking him that because I think that's one of the things during his confirmation hearings is going to come up. What is his position on Roe versus Wade and stare decisis? But we don't know. There's no clear opinion or track record there. Now, we do know that President Trump said during his campaign that he intends to abolish Roe versus Wade. I think he used the word automatically by appointing pro-life justices. So I assume that is his intent. Now, that doesn't mean that that's what Judge Kavanaugh would do. If it does practice judicial restraint and follow stare decisis, then he wouldn't want to necessarily overturn longstanding opinions of the court.
And I don't think that Roe v. Wade is as I don't think that it's going to be overturned. I don't think that's as big an issue as we're making it out to be. I think that's just the one that we feel the strongest about. But I think that the Chief Justice is very stuck on his opinion about that, and it's not going to be overturned. So there are other issues that we can look at where he can have a greater effect than overturning Roe v. Wade. Just I don't want to say on a smaller scale, but a less glamorous scale.
Yeah, because everybody knows about Roe versus Wade, and we were talking about this off camera, and it's a super important issue about women's rights. And, my inbox was flooded this morning after the announcement with, all these different political groups saying we've got to, make sure that this judge isn't appointed because of Roe versus Wade. And I was just thinking, what about all the other really important issues, that are probably, on a day-to-day basis more involved in our individual lives than Roe versus Wade. And that's where it gets a little more scary, like issues about just giving corporations more power, or what else were we talking about? With like the president's power, because he has some gerrymandering, or the power that this judge has said that he doesn't think the president should be sued while in office, and he said this I think during Clinton era
in 2009.
Oh, he said it in 2009 because it's too distracting to have the president to have to deal with lawsuits, and so that raises questions about how does he feel about the rule of law, and whether the president can be investigated and or charged. And that's something I'm not even sure how I feel about that, because I don't really think the president can be criminally charged. I feel like the president can be impeached, and that's a whole separate thing than and lawsuits are separate than criminal charges too.
Right,
so
impeachment is different. Like, people don't understand, when you're impeached, they're just accusing you. You aren't actually charged with anything. They're just saying, hey, we think you did this thing and we're going to investigate it. The impeachment isn't like, it doesn't really do that much.
Because Bill Clinton was impeached and nothing happened. So, you can be impeached and it doesn't necessarily imply an outcome at all.
I do want to read his law review article. I'd like to see his take on it, since he was there for the Clinton impeachment. Maybe he has an argument for why. I'm not saying that we shouldn't impeach presidents or hold them accountable or anything like that, but I would like to hear his argument, and maybe there should be some fallback plan for when a president is impeached in office.
Yeah. Well, it's ongoing, and we'll have to see what happens during the confirmation hearings. I think that'll bring a lot more to light. But overall, this judge definitely leans toward the right, more right-leaning than current judges on, at least more right-leaning than Kennedy and
he's not going to be the swing vote that Kennedy
Yeah,
is.
He's more right-leaning than Kennedy. But
I'm interested to see his take on affirmative action, because I know there's a case that's going to the court recently, or probably next term.
That
has to do with affirmative action and can have a large effect on a lot of people.
So we'll see. This is kind of ongoing, but it's exciting to kind of be a part of this and watch it unfold. So if you have questions, comments, feedback, please leave it for us.
Yeah, if you want us to brief a certain case, let us know.
And we'll see you next time. Be sure to subscribe, and we'll see you next week. Thank you for watching the Yoga Lawyer video.